It's AFA Today, and Kevin McCullough, glad to be with you on the Friday edition. We've still got lots of callers that want to weigh in, and your phone line always welcome, of course, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. And I want to say thank you to those of you that check us out every single day, that come to AFA Today. We've heard from so many of you that have sent your emails in in the Harbinger contest. And you've just said the nicest things. So thank you for those compliments. They are very well received and welcomed. I want to point you back to onenewsnow.com, which, again, if you missed the top of the show, you can find out more about AFA's reason to call off the boycott against Home Depot, and they made that announcement this week. But there's also an update on the San Antonio story that we told you about a number of weeks ago, and that is that the City Council of San Antonio has gone ahead and decided by a vote of 8-3 to approve a controversial anti-discrimination ordinance, which says it protects homosexuals and also says it gives special rights to transgendered people. In addition, and this is really the insidious part, business owners who take a faith-based stance in saying, I can't participate in your sin with you. Okay? So we're not talking about someone coming into a grocery store and trying to buy food for them to be able to eat. We're not talking about stuff like that. We're talking about, people that primarily are in the wedding vending business. We're talking about, people that do various things in which the lifestyle of the person is relevant to the reputation of the business specifically. And they say we can't participate. If I bake you a cake for your lesbian wedding, that makes me adherent to your lesbian wedding, and I can't do that. My faith won't let me. If people take such stances in the days to come, they will be barred from doing any business with the city. KENS Television last night played the comments from Ivy Taylor, who is a Christian, and she's on the city council, and she said, I have sacrificed a lot to serve in this role on city council, but I will not sacrifice my core values and beliefs for political gain or to be in alignment with a particular platform, and that was the expectation for me as a black woman. You've got the wrong sister in this seat. Councilwoman Elisa Chan, also a Christian, expressed concern over national homosexual activists singling out San Antonio. She said, I'm disappointed that the power of political correctness has prevailed over the freedom of speech, but most of all, I'm disappointed that the harmony of the great people of San Antonio has been disrupted. Jonathan Sands of Texas Values said today a majority of the city San Antonio Council voted to approve a radical ordinance that a majority of the people of San Antonio oppose, even adding new language at the last minute. This ordinance will be used as a weapon against people of faith and family, just as other laws have been used in other states. The ordinance lacks transparency, lacks evidence of a real need, and is plagued with major constitutional concerns. The question now is, when will the first legal challenge begin, and what will the cost be to taxpayers at the end of the litigation that will certainly come? U.S. Senator Ted Cruz opposed the ordinance, as did Texas Attorney General Greg Abbott, who has predicted a lawsuit over religious freedom as a result of it. So despite the fact that the San Antonio City Council knew that the majority of San Antonians didn't like this, despite the fact that they know that it's problematic and plagued severely with issues related to how it prevents constitutional rights from being expressed, they went ahead and voted on it and voted 8-3 to pass it yesterday. So an update there. If you would like to, onenewsnow.com, see that for yourself. All right, going back to the main thing, the story that we have been discussing the full hour, John Kerry saying, in essence, and I'm summarizing, if we don't bomb Syria, then the al-Qaeda rebels who are fighting the people that we would be bombing will only grow and their violence will worsen. In other words, if we bomb the people that they're committing the violence against, they will somehow be nice? It's hard for me to understand that. 888-589-8840. Let's go to Greg calling from Texas. Greg, you're up next on AFA Today. Hi.
Hello, Kevin.
Yes.
This is Greg. How are
Hey,
you doing
Greg.
today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for your call.
The reason why I'm calling is because, to me, now that the president is going to be going on national TV, that to me demonstrates that he understands that there is uh, countrywide opposition to us going into Syria. We have no dog in this fight, and I really think the people need to stand up. They need to continue to email their representatives and their senators, and they also need to call. If they email, there's a written record of it versus verbally, but they need to do both, and it's very, very important. Even if they've done it once or twice, they need to continue to do that, and I think that's important. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk on AFA.
Sure. Well, Greg, we appreciate your call. 888-589-8840 if you would like to talk to us. If you would like to do what Greg was suggesting and continue to talk to your leaders, that's 202-224-3121. 202-224-3121 is the number where you can do that and express your opinion there, and I would encourage you to do so. There are 300 members of Congress that look like they are now going to vote against it. But it is important that the president understand that he doesn't have anyone's approval for this. There's no coalition. There's no UN resolution. For Iraq, Bush had 48 countries. He had 2 UN Security Council resolutions. He had the authority from Congress. The American people actually, by a slight majority, approved of his actions. You got none of that. Zip, zero, bupkis in this case. And the president's still talking about, well, the headline on Fox News is, I'll make the best case I can to the American people. It is really, really interesting to see where we are headed here. And I hope it is not where a lot of people fear that it is. I don't think we have any business being there right now. But I'm giving you a chance to express your thoughts here on this Friday. About 11 minutes left in the broadcast. Let's talk to David in Louisiana. David, you're up next. Hi.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for being here.
Good. I had 2 things. I
Sure.
agree with you. It's really a quagmire. We don't have any right answer to this, and you don't have American support to go into Syria because we're just a war-weary society. I mean, even with the support we had for Bush going in Iraq and Afghanistan, it ended up being the 2 longest wars in American history. And we don't have the money to do it. We don't have the interest to do it. It's really a mess. And, there's a lot of conflicting reports about, the government using gas or the rebels. But I would like to tell the listeners there was a really good documentary on PBS, the Frontline series. It's called The War in Syria or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they have cameras on the ground with both the government side and the rebel side. It is incredible. I mean, that's real journalism when the cameraman is putting himself, risking his life to cover the story. You don't really find that in any other news organization that, with cutbacks, they don't have the investigative reporting budgets that they used to. But I tell you what, the PBS Frontline documentary on Syria is really eye-opening. And
all right.
It doesn't go either way. It just shows you how complicated it is. So,
and it is. It's a big pile of complication. I mean, it's a confounding, befuddled mess. And the problem is, they're both bad guys. We did not help the rebels when we should have. We had the chance to help them at the beginning, when they were fighting for freedom, and they desired our help, and they asked for it, and we kept saying no. And when we said no, Al-Qaeda said, hey, maybe we can help. And they started flooding the zone. And now better than 50% of the fighters for the rebel side are Al-Qaeda trained terrorists. They are jihadis. They are wanting to set up an Islamic safe training ground that they can use to further their extremism. And I think the world's going to be a worse place if they come to power. But I don't like Mr. Assad for 2 seconds either. I mean, to me, it's all bad. So why put our troops' business, hardware, money, tax dollars, effort into the middle of it. That's where the deck being shuffled doesn't make sense to me. Let's get to Steve in Texas. Steve, you're up next on AFA Today. Kevin McCullough, happy Friday to you.
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Sure thing.
Hey, something I read a couple of days ago, a friend of mine sent me, might throw out there just to see if this might put a little different spin on this whole situation. It seems that this might all revolve around the little nation of Qatar wanting to put a natural gas pipeline across Syria. And since Assad is in Russia's pocket, Russia wants to keep him in there because he denied them access to put the pipeline across there because they want to sell natural gas to Europe, and that's who Russia sells their natural gas to. So Qatar has apparently given a lot of money to the rebels to try to beat out Assad so that they will give them access to put their pipeline in. So to me, I think money's the whole basis of this thing, and why we are getting involved in the whole deal makes no sense unless someone here, a bunch of our politicians, has financial interest in this or something. Have you heard anything about that at all?
I've not heard about the Qatar pipeline, but I will do some research on it after the show today. It sounds like an interesting theory.
But apparently this has been going on since, 2009 or before. So they've been trying to get this line in there for quite some time. And like you've pointed out before, why is something that happened back in March now suddenly a big deal? So...
Yeah, and what if you really study the details, and thank you for the call, there's been several dozen of these little chemical attacks, and the one on August the 21st was a rather large one, but these weapons and this mode of warfare has been being used for a while, and Russia says they have absolute proof that it's the rebels that are using it. Well, absolute proof, we may not have, but we're told that that it's easy to prove that it was Assad that used it. Well, what if they're both using them? What if they both have access to? What if they both wandered across access to Saddam Hussein's old storehouses full of them that he sent to Syria when just before we went in and stretched his neck? I mean, there could be lots of this stuff sitting around. And what we've done, especially since last Saturday, with the president announcing I have the ability to do this, and it's all within my right and my power, and I might, but I'm gonna take some time to let Congress hash this through. Do you think that all those chemicals have just sat in the same place this whole time? Do you think they're not being dispersed in very secretive locations throughout Syria and I don't know, possibly in civilian population centers? And if we're gonna destroy those chemicals with bombs, what happens to the atmosphere around them? I know people say, well, we can't let the world think that it's okay to use chemical weapons. How do you if they exist, how do you keep people from using them? Maybe you haven't noticed, but people aren't particularly afraid of President Obama. They don't particularly think that he poses any kind of threat to anything. And by extension, the U.S. We're judged by that as well. 888-589-8840. Let's go back to the phones. And somehow the time's all leveled out. Let's talk to Rosie. Don't know where Rosie's calling from, but I'm glad you're here. Hi.
Hi, I just have two insights on this. One is that I really think the President Obama really makes a lot of mistakes, and we need to pray for him because as he has not really been listening to the multitude of counselors who are godly, I don't think he is doing that, and therefore he has made a lot of mistakes. And now it's a great decision he has to make, and still not listening. So need to pray for him. It's very ironical that we are affected by the killing of because of humanitarian effects, on us. However, it's ironical that we're going to kill again so many people, including our own selves here, if we don't listen to God's words.
Rosie, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that on two levels. One, I do think we need to hope and pray that our leaders will adhere to biblical truth, to the idea of proper priorities in evaluating huge decisions like this. And I also think that it is incumbent upon us to pray for them whether we agree with them or not. I think that praying for our leaders is something that is a hedge of protection for our own country. No matter how much you virulently disagree with whoever's in power. And I know people that disagreed with the last administration. But did you pray for them? I disagree with this president on almost everything. Literally, almost everything. I wrote a whole book about it. Out of, 18 chapters, one dealt with some stuff I found admirable about. But 17 out of 18 times, I disagreed with him. But I pray for him every day because he holds a lot of power in his hands that affect myself, my family, my children, the future of our nation. And we should be praying for him. He has a tough job to do. I wouldn't trade my place with him, not for $1 million. So let's pray for the president as he comes closer to that decision, and then be seeing what he does on Tuesday night. I'm Kevin McCullough, the Kevin McCullough Show tonight on many of these same stations, and we'll see you Monday here on AFA Today.